What's going on, guys? This is Wheeler and welcome back to another video. Behind me I have the new 2024 Corvette Z06. This video isn't going to be a full review. I've only had the car for about 2 weeks. I'm approaching 500 miles on the car, so I don't have enough miles behind the wheel to comfortably make a full review, but I did want to give you guys my first impressions, what I like about the car, the changes they made to the C8 and the Corvette in general. I've now driven tens of thousands of miles behind the wheel of the modern Corvettes, such as the C7 and C8, from the Stingray to the Z06 and now the ZR1 and the new Z06. So I have a love for these cars, and I've had a lot of experience in these cars, and the fact that I've owned all of these cars, it's not just a car that I'm driving for a week. I give you my opinion, then I hand it off. I do have a lot of miles behind these cars, so I feel like I may have more insights than most. So the first thing I really want to jump into on this car is pricing. So this is the largest price increase from Stingray to Z06 model that they've ever done. The C7 generation cars, the Stingray started at about $55,000, and then when the Z06 came out, the starting price of the Z06 was about $83,000. For this car, the starting price of the Stingray was about $59,000 back in 2020 whenever they came out, and the starting price for the Z06 is $110,000. So you have almost a $50,000 price increase, a little over $50,000 for the Z06, which is the largest jump that they have ever done in pricing. So what do you get for that money? How does this differ from the base Stingray? So you obviously get a slightly different body kit on the outside. You have a different front bumper and grille setup here. The fenders are both wider in the front and the rear. You have a slightly wider intake. You have subtle design changes on certain panels. Obviously, you have the Z06 model designation. This piece here also goes back a lot further. On the Stingray, it stops about here. Something small, but it's a differentiation if you see the car on the road. Moving to the back, the biggest change that they've made to the back, also you're gonna have to excuse how dirty the car is. Like I said, I've been driving it almost every day, trying to get the experience behind the wheel. The biggest change you're gonna see to the back is the tailpipes are back to the quad center exhaust, which I love. I know a lot of people were upset when the Stingray came out and the exhaust split 2 and 2. We're back to all 4 here, which I think looks awesome. You can also get these black tips from factory. These ones are the chrome ones, but you can order them black. On the rear, it's also, like I said, it's wider. So you have a couple different vents here that aren't on the base Stingray, a little different grille setup. The taillights are red. I know on the C7 Stingrays versus the C7 Z06, the Z06's taillights were clear, and a lot of people liked that. These are red, just as they are in the Stingray. I still think it looks good. Would have liked the clear ones, but you know, that's nitpicky. Also new for the Z06 that you can't get on the Stingray is these awesome exposed carbon fiber wheels. This is the first time Chevy has ever done any exposed carbon fiber wheel options. They do come with a hefty price tag though. These sit around, I think, $10,000 to $12,000 for obviously all 4. So super expensive, but if you look into aftermarket exposed carbon wheels, that's kind of the price range you're looking for. I think these look great. They've also done a good job. It doesn't have quite as much wheel gap as previous generations had. I know the Z06 had quite a large, the C7 Z06 had quite a large wheel gap there, so it's nice that that's changed. You also have these massive carbon ceramic Brembo brakes with drilled slotted rotors for ventilation. Braking has been phenomenal on this car. It was on the Stingray as well, so I didn't expect anything to change there. I wish it had come with black lug nuts. I don't know why that's the case. I'm not even sure if that's an option. So obviously the largest difference between the two is going to be the new engine. Like I said, car was sitting outside, but you know, they're meant to be driven. So in the Stingray, you had a 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8 making about 490 horsepower ish. In this car, you have a 5.5 liter flat plane crank V8 making over 670 horsepower, which is crazy. That is so much power without forced induction. For example, this car, the 2019 ZR1, has a 6.2 liter V8 supercharged, making about 760 horsepower. So this car only makes 90 horsepower less, yet there's no forced induction. So the throttle response is instant. You don't have to wait for a turbo to spool up or the supercharger for the boost to kick in. I love the naturally aspirated sound as well. I think this engine is phenomenal. Definitely the biggest difference between the Stingray and the Z06, obviously the performance, and it does not disappoint here. While I already have the trunk deck lid open, I'll go ahead and show you guys the storage here. So you do have the same trunk space that's available in the Stingray, big enough to fit a set of golf clubs, not quite deep enough to fit a full suitcase. You can fit a decent amount of stuff in here if you need to go get groceries. Like, this is more than enough room for a relatively large haul. Also, you have here, this is where the roof would come off and store in the trunk. Can't really store the groceries when the roof's in the trunk, but that's the same on the Stingrays as well. The front storage here, you got the same button kind of underneath the bumper here. Press and hold. Same trunk space that you had in the Stingray. Relatively deep. I mean, you can definitely fit like a quite tall carry-on in here, but again, not quite big enough for a full suitcase. But my backpack, my gym bag sits right in there. More than enough room, some extra space there. You also have attachments if you buy the cargo net that'll clip in here if you need more space. You have a 12-volt power outlet as well if you need to plug in, I don't know, battery tender or anything of the sort. Moving on to the inside is probably the biggest area where the Stingray and the Z06 kind of align. Not much has changed on the inside here. You still get the same GT2 carbon bucket seats that I had in the C8 Stingray that I had. On the inside, the dash, everything is virtually the same. It's basically identical to the Stingray. Slightly different wheel. Obviously, you have the model designation here, but other than that, everything's pretty much the same. You'll also see some carbon pieces here. So these carbon pieces are actually not from factory. I got these aftermarket. This is real carbon fiber, but I was not able to get the pieces from the factory due to probably the largest issue that I've had with this car so far. So another feature that they've also added in the 2024 model year is wireless CarPlay, which I was really surprised that this car didn't come with to begin with in 2020, because you had the wireless charger back here, but whenever you used it, you couldn't use CarPlay because it had to be wired. So that's finally been changed. There is wireless CarPlay, so you can use the wireless charger back here and still have the CarPlay features just in time for them to remove CarPlay anyway. So that's kind of an odd quirk, if you will. I was told by the salesman at the Chevrolet dealership that this will be one of, if not the last year, that Android Auto and CarPlay will be available in the Corvettes, which is kind of disappointing. But apparently Chevy wants to go more of a proprietary route and have you use their system. I think that's kind of a downside. I wish they would keep CarPlay in, but obviously that's their choice. On the inside, storage-wise, you have your normal compartment here on the left and right of both doors. You have your glove box here. Press the button in the middle to open. That's the storage you got right there. You got mirrors, you know, average, about what you'd see in most other cars. 2 cup holders, and then you have your center console, which gives you USB-C and USB-A. I wish it was 2 USB-C ports, but having both, I guess, is convenient if you still haven't transferred over to USB-C. Right here in the center of the car, this is also the same on the Stingray. You do have a wireless charger where you can slip your phone in here. It's also cool design-wise. You can see a little cross flag emblem in there. And also the pattern here on the back, I don't know if you can see it, but each of these is a Corvette logo. So what is my main gripe with this car? It actually isn't the car itself at all. It's the ordering process and a lot of the ordering constraints that GM has on this car right now. So as I mentioned before, I wasn't able to get the Z07 package, the exposed carbon splitter, side skirts, and wing. And the reason that isn't because I didn't want it. If you go to order one of these cars from a Chevy dealer and you're not buying it just off like Auto Trader or something like that, secondhand, which I wouldn't recommend because the scalping prices are quite heavy on these cars. If you go to order this car yourself, you'll notice that you might not be able to order all of the options that you want. It's seemingly a supply chain issue that has plagued us since the whole 2020 we all had to stay inside fiasco, you know what I mean? That seems to have continued to trickle into even 2024, 4 years later. The carbon pieces were on constraint. Was the Z07 package, the exposed carbon fiber mirror caps I couldn't get, some interior carbon as well, I was just not able to purchase, as well as the exposed carbon engine cover I wasn't able to get either. So it is kind of disappointing whenever you are saving up this money to buy this incredibly expensive car, especially in relation to how cheap these used to be. It's disappointing whenever you can't even get the options that you want. And it's not a case of where I know Tesla will have certain things or other car manufacturers where you order the parts, they're on back order, supply constraint issues, so you don't get them when your car is delivered. They'll get shipped to you later and then the dealer installs them or something of the sort. There's nothing like that here. So even if you want the option, you just can't get it. And you have to resort to either aftermarket options which could potentially be more expensive, long lead times, or it wouldn't be covered under your warranty since it didn't come with the car in the first place, which is disappointing given the $163,000 sticker price that this car was, that you aren't even able to get the options that you want. And then come to find out, a couple weeks after my order went in, I get a message from my salesman saying, oh, the supply constraint issues are released. We can build a few cars that have the carbon. But my order had already gone through, so I wasn't able to get that. But this car has truly really impressed me. It is such a large improvement over the base Stingray. Is it $50,000-$60,000 more? I'm not entirely sure. That's, you know, to each their own. But for me, this car just feels so much better. This is more in line with what I had anticipated out of a mid-engine Corvette. In my opinion, this is probably the biggest departure that Chevrolet has made from the classic Corvettes. The C7 Stingray really felt more so like a muscle car. They were just starting to kind of wean away from the classic muscle car feels that the Vette was already kind of known for. But with this, it's really in a completely different ball field. Even just the comparison from the ZR1 to the Z06, night and day difference. Obviously that is still incredibly fast, still very responsive. This feels so much more refined. It feels more exotic, feels more foreign. I haven't noticed any problems quality wise as far as like panels rattling or anything like that, which has also been pretty nice. I haven't really had any issues with large panel gap that I have seen. Everything lines up as it should, just as it did with the Stingray and the ZR1. I haven't had any issues. Obviously there's the rare anomaly that you may encounter, but it's been pretty solid. I'm really impressed. I think it looks great, sounds great, is great to drive, the attention's there, and it's keeping up horsepower wise with cars that are twice its price in some instances, 3 times its price in some instances. I definitely think it is a great value for what you are getting, but the Corvette is not as attainable as it once was, where even several years ago an $90,000 MSRP starting for the C7 Z06 seemed like a lot for an American car. You're approaching in this car after tax almost the 200s in some cases if you aren't ordering it and getting it MSRP, over $200,000 for this car. And at that point, is it really worth it? For that type of money, you can really get into a lot of different other cars secondhand that are just complete exotics, something more unique, something foreign. So at that price range, I'm not sure if it would be something that I'd be interested in, but if you can get one at MSRP or had the opportunity to rent one or drive one, I definitely would take that chance. I hope that you would enjoy it. But yeah, so that kind of sums up my first impressions of this car. I am very pleased, very impressed. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm curious to know if you guys like the Z06, you like the direction that Chevrolet is going. Hopefully I can get my hands on E-Ray to potentially do a review or first impressions on that. But yeah, so that'll be pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up, comment, even subscribe if you want to. I'm planning on making new videos here in the future, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.